Are LSU and Penn State both going to come to the Big 12 for their coaches? That's the question that I'm asking after what we have seen this week. And not just the news of the day today, which is about Matt Rhule in Nebraska, but something that has come to the desk of one Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. Okay, so I have written down here in my notes, like, it's that time of year, coaching carousel. I mean, it's really not that time of year. We're just in a crazy place with college football right now where Halloween means that you have like 10 major Power 4 jobs open and everybody's speculating about who is going where. And it's like one thing when jobs were coming open during the college football playoff and you have to worry about our coaches. Do you have to wait for a coach until after a playoff run to go approach him or go pursue hard and go after somebody? That's one whole thing. But what about when they're just coming into the stretch run of the season, when they're only 2/3 of the way through their actual season? Like they're worried about getting their kids out for trick-or-treating, and now they've got to think about other jobs. That's where we're at right now because LSU came open on Sunday. I mean, to me, I would say Ohio State is probably the biggest job in the sport, but LSU might be number 2. You know, if I think about what are the biggest jobs out there, maybe like Ohio State, LSU, Bama being like the 3 biggest jobs that could possibly be open in the sport. So LSU is right up there. Penn State, another top 10 job for sure. That one's been sitting out there for a while. Penn State's just old news. You know, I mean, think about how big of a deal it is that the Penn State job is open. It's like, that's kind of boring by now. Like, okay, cool. What's going to be next week? When is something else opening up? Florida State going to happen? Like, what's going on? Now at Penn State, it has long been thought that the leader in the clubhouse was Matt Rhule because of the relationship that he has with the athletic director there at Penn State. So everybody thought, well, that makes sense. Matt Rhule is having a lot of success at Nebraska. He has clearly built that thing up in his 3rd year now. He will be the guy at Penn State. Well, in the words of the great Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. He signed an extension with Nebraska today. So doesn't make it impossible that Matt Rhule could take a job. And I did see that people pointed out Rhule had signed an extension at Baylor. Was it like 4 months or something before he wound up taking the Panthers job? So it's not out of the question, but his buyout, if you're going to come poach him, the buyout on Matt Rhule increased from $5 million to $15 million today. So it's definitely a heftier price that you're going to have to pay, especially if you're paying somebody between $20 and $50 million, whatever it's going to be, to James Franklin to go away. Base salary it has increased a little bit. It's an average annual value over the contract of like nearly $12 million. So Matt Rhule is being handsomely rewarded. And it's the crazy thing here. You think these coaching contracts are ridiculous? This contract is now 90% guaranteed for Matt Rhule. So his buyout, like the cost for Nebraska to fire him actually went up from like 40 something million to 71 million today. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But there are a lot of tentacles to this. Okay. So Matt Rhule staying put seemingly at Nebraska and not going to Penn State. I mean, one is the Nebraska job is one that, like, if that opened, you might as well list any Big 12 coach who's not on the hot seat for that job, right? It feels like virtually every Big 12 coach, specifically Chris Kleiman, Lance Leipold, and Matt Campbell, would all be big-time candidates for that job if it were to open. So there is one part of you that's like, all right, well, that maybe is good in a sense that some Big 12 coaches are not going to be linked there, but it did knock down the guy that everybody thought was going to get the Penn State job. So where does Penn State turn next? And the smoke is picking up on one coach here. All right. And I know because I was maybe not solely responsible, but partially responsible for the, Matt Campbell, head coach of the blank meme that kicked into high gear. People will say, you're trying to will this to happen, right? Matt Campbell to another job. Look, I have kind of backed off it. To me, frankly, the meme has almost sort of run its course. It has become a little boring to me now. Chris Hassel, who I really respect, who I know covers Iowa, does the Iowa Everywhere show with Chris Williams. He has tweeted out now 2 weeks in a row, a different expert from CBS Sports. He also works with CBS Sports. He's had a different expert on 2 weeks in a row where he's asked, like, who's going to be the guy? And both times it has been Matt Campbell. Okay, so here is the latest. right? Don't shoot the messenger. Don't say this is me trying to do it. This is an Iowa guy. All right. And again, much respect to Chris. I think he does an excellent job. But here is what Chip Patterson said, who's working with CBS Sports from the Cover 3 podcast.
Iowa State coach Matt Campbell, and it would be a fantastic hire. I had him as the domino if Matt Rhule left Nebraska, but if Matt Rhule is staying put, then what a great opportunity for Campbell to take over a job with a little bit more resource.
There you go. I had seen that before where he had set up the carousel to be Matt Rhule to Penn State, Matt Campbell to Nebraska. But now he is following up on what Tom Fornelli said last week to Chris Hassel, which is, I think it should be Matt Campbell at Penn State. Josh Pate. All right. That's another big national name in college football. Josh Pate has said multiple times on his show now, if he were hiring at Penn State, he would go hire Matt Campbell. I have been surprised by this, guys. I'm telling you, like, I did not picture this because I figured, hey, if Penn State's firing James Franklin, they're going to shoot for a monster name. They're going to want a name that moves the needle and something that will satisfy their fans and like win the press conference. And, I think Matt Campbell's a great coach. And maybe at one point he's been doing it so long now at Iowa State, the name is not as hot as it was before. And I don't think that's the type of name that would like thrill Penn State fans after paying all this money to make James Franklin go away. Now, I'm not saying I think that that's correct and that he wouldn't be a great hire, but I just didn't think that's what I would be hearing. But a lot of, I think, college football media types are looking at this the same way that I would and saying, hey, who cares about a flashy name, right? Was Kurtz a flashy name when Indiana hired him? No. But Kurtz now looks like he might be the next guy, right? He's got Indiana in serious contention for a national championship this year. So who cares about winning the press conference? Go get a ball coach. And everybody is recognizing how good Matt Campbell has been at that job. So I'm just saying there is a lot of buzz out there about Campbell. And I mean, look, the resume speaks for itself at this point. First of all, the thing at Penn State has been, how do you compete in these big games, right? And if we look at like top 25 wins, Matt Campbell is 16-27 against the top 25 at Iowa State. It's virtually the same record as James Franklin. They had very similar winning percentages and records against the top 25, but Matt Campbell's obviously doing that at a vastly under-resourced program compared to Penn State. And even like compared to your peers in the league, right? Like for a long time, Matt Campbell was in the same league there as Texas and Oklahoma. So I think that would tell you signs indicate he would be better at winning those big games that Penn State craves than James Franklin would be. But, he's 7 winning seasons out of 10 at Iowa State. He's got 4 with 8+ wins, a couple Big 12 title appearances, just had the best season in school history last year. I know some would say, well, they've lost 3 straight and lost a game at Colorado. Like, how could this team? You can't take just a snapshot of this one season. I know we're in a society right now where we just can't. Everybody's so immediate results. Take a step back. Like, the guy has been doing this for a really long time at a high level and has had Iowa State legitimately competing for college football playoff spots and Big 12 championships. I think people recognize that. So I have no idea what is actually happening at Penn State, but the media ecosphere has certainly latched on to Matt Campbell as a legit candidate there. Now, what about LSU? Kenny Dillingham seems to have been one of the flavors of the week this week with LSU. He's on most of the hot boards. I mean, this is like real consensus. People think Kenny Dillingham will be a candidate at LSU. You go to On3, he's on their hot board. You go to The Athletic, he's on their hot board. I was browsing even just the LSU specific On3 site today. They have a big profile on Kenny Dillingham. The Athletic, I think the reason that Kenny Dillingham got asked about it at his press conference this week is because The Athletic, when doing a story about the LSU job, had used Kenny Dillingham's picture for the article. And so he's getting asked, like, hey, man, like, your picture's on this article linking you to this job. I'll get to Dillingham's response to it in just a moment. But if you're curious what kind of the vibe is, what the pitch is for Dillingham, who's only 35 years old, 1 year younger than me, to be the LSU head coach. This was from The Athletic. It says Dillingham has wowed a lot of folks inside college football. The 35-year-old took a woeful Arizona State program and by year 2 got them into the playoff and almost knocked off Texas. Not bad for a team that was picked to finish last in the Big 12. They're off to a 5-3 start this season. Dillingham is one of the more dynamic head coaches in FBS. He's energetic and creative, and it feels like he's the anti-Brian Kelly. And I do like that being pointed out here. Not that I think that's the be-all, end-all really at LSU, but that doesn't hurt when you are somebody who's really personable, really likable, and not just a giant a-hole, which is what Brian Kelly, according to most who have worked around him, is. Says, like Drinkwitz, Dillingham is one of a few coaches on the list who realistically isn't expected to have the timing of the playoff to navigate if the search heats up. So, yeah, I guess there's another piece of this. They could have more access to him quickly because it doesn't look like Arizona State is going to the playoff right now, and not even just because of the couple losses that they've taken in conference play. They're still technically alive, but you look at this weekend, they got to go play Iowa State with Jordan Tyson doubtful and Sam Levitt out. That's not a good recipe. That team is so heavily reliant on those two players. I think that's been a lot of their problem this year. They're too heavily reliant on that. There's been too much on their plates. They're getting hurt. Anyway, it seems like Kenny Dillingham is there on the board at LSU somewhere if there is that much smoke about it, right? But because of that, Kenny Dillingham was asked about it. So we can listen to his response here. And I guess I'll let you make your own judgments about what it is you think of Kenny Dillingham's interest in the job based on what he says here.
Your picture's on the top of an Athletic article today speculating of LSU and Penn State. So have you told your agent, don't listen to anybody, don't answer? Do you listen? Where's your role in future openings?
I'm trying to win as many games as I can here. That is my number one focus is our players, our football team, everything about us. That's simple. Like, I am so singularly focused on us to win football games, to become a better football team, this season. Like, that's my singular focus.
Okay. Now, in the words of Parker Fleming, Stats of War on Twitter, not a denial. Okay. Not a denial, but I mean, a pretty good response just to get that out of the way there. Look, here's the deal. If I were an Arizona State fan, I would not worry about this too much. Because I think he's LSU. Penn State, if I think Penn State is going to be a place that wants to win the press conference and go for a huge name, I mean, LSU is that times 10. They're having the search run by, I guess, a board and maybe the governor. I mean, there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening there. Kenny Dillingham seems more of like a, savvy athletic director looking to hire a good ball coach kind of hire. So I would not think that this is where LSU would come to on their list. I would think it would be very far down the list, and they're probably not going to get that far down the list, which is no slight to Kenny Dillingham at all. Again, I think he's a wonderful coach, but it feels like a lot would have to line up for this to really be the guy, right? So I wouldn't worry about it too terribly much. Now, yes, I realize hey, it's Kenny Dillingham's alma mater. It'll be tough to pull him away. If there's a job that could pull him away, if LSU really put the full court press on him, I mean, I think that's a job that you have to listen to. Like, you could certainly debate that is the best job in college football because of the history, the resources, how many different coaches have won national championships there. But I do not think that that's something you're really going to have to worry about. Let's see. I saw this. Okay. Speaking of coaches, so M. Morris says, rumor was Arkansas was in Provo today. I did also see that rumor out there. I think that comes from plane tracking, right? Good old plane tracking season. BYU is notably on a bye week this week, and so that is when you typically, we'll hear some things about if you have an opportunity, to get in front of a coach or chat with a coach, this would be the time during a bye week. I heard some of this. I was going to mention something on the Oklahoma State job in just a moment that has to do with bye weeks. I can't confirm or I have no idea. I didn't track any planes. I have no idea. I would be stunned if Kalani Sitake left BYU for Arkansas, but I can understand why people would be calling. I mean, how could you not be after the success that BYU has had the last 2 years and the way that Sitake goes about doing it? Now, that's what makes it, to me, seem like a weird fit for the SEC in Arkansas, because Sitake is such a genuinely like he is like Bobby Petrino is the guy that's interim there right now. Okay, let's just put it that way. Compare and contrast Bobby Petrino and Kalani Sitake as human beings, and that's why that feels like a weird fit to me. I guess I'll just put it that way. So I'd be pretty shocked. But I did want to, and yes, and I then heard the plane went on to Eugene, which would make you think like Will Stein, the offensive coordinator out there at Oregon. This stuff is wildly fascinating, very interesting, makes for good content. I have no actual info on that. I can tell you, like Oklahoma State, it sounds like Alex Golesh at USF, Colin Klein, Texas A&M offensive coordinator, obviously Zach Robinson. Like those seem to be the three names that you're hearing a lot there. I know a lot of the buzz this week has been around Colin Klein. Texas A&M, I think, is on a bye week this week, and so there you go. That would open up an opportunity. I certainly, I feel feels like the rumors got out of control where it was like, oh, like they already have an agreement. Like, guys, I don't think that's happening. But can you be interviewing people during a bye week? Yes, you definitely could. So I think those are names that are probably in the mix there.